So you meet someone, and after a month, they want to get married, or they just got out of a relationship and you go out with them, and within a month, they want to get married. Should you be excited because they know this wonderful person that you are? Or should that cause concern? And should you see some red flags? Let's talk about it. Thank you so much for joining my channel, Ask Lois the Relatable Therapist. My name is Lois Goodall, and this channel is all about promoting positive relationships. And I get my inspiration from reality TV, podcasts, news reporting, or anything that I think that's going to help me help you have positive relationships. And stay tuned because toward the end of this video, I kind of connect it because whatever we're talking about, it mirrors a lot of people's lives. And so I talk about what should we learn from this or what can we learn from this? And so before we get started, I want to do my disclaimer. This video is protected under the Fair Use Act, under copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act 1976. And it can be used for scholarship, criticism, news reporting, comment, and teaching. And everything that I talk about is alleged, and it's my own personal opinion. And so let's talk about it. So, you probably saw it, it's all over the news. Porsha and Simon Gobadia, they're getting a divorce. And let me go ahead and put the people up that we're talking about. And I actually did a video when they got engaged a year ago, a little over a year ago. And so I'll put it up at the top at the end so you can go back and see that. And I talked about some red flags that I saw. Porsha is his fourth wife, and he filed for divorce from his third wife in February of 2021. He started dating Porsha in April 2021. They got engaged in May 2021 and married in November 2022. This week, it came out in the news that the federal immigration judge had denied Simon Gobadia U.S. citizenship due to a long criminal record, including fraud and multiple felonies. Also, he had a past allegations of scams and false identity. And so when you look at all of that, and it's the question I had is, did Porsha know this? Because Portia's smart, she has multiple businesses, and I think she's very bright, but did she know this? And this is a reason why when she, after a month of knowing him, quote unquote, knowing of him, that she got engaged. But did she take the time to figure out who this man really was? Or did she just believe because he had multiple businesses, they said he was very wealthy, was that the draw? Because you can't know someone in a month. When you're dating, it's to see if we can go to the next level. In a month, you can't have seen enough of them to know that we can go to the next level. I remember one statement that Simon made, was that we checked all the boxes. One box they seemed like they didn't check was the background. And so this is curious because Porsha has been scheduled to go back on to Real Housewives of Atlanta. And within this week, this information comes out about Simon. She's going to go back to Real Housewives, and then she files for divorce on February 22nd. And it's suspicious that all of this is happening around the same time. But someone said this divorce is unrelated to any allegations involving Simon's past. Now, it seems suspicious that all of a sudden now she's getting divorced right after all these allegations come out. And so as I was looking at it, I said, you know what? If he has these allegations, he has to fight in court because he's trying to stay here because he may get deported because they're saying his visa is not valid anymore. If they're going to fight it in court, who's going to pay for all of this? It's probably going to be her. And Portia's probably thinking about her brand, and she's thinking about all that she has accomplished. And this is alleged on my part. And maybe she doesn't want to keep footing the bill. Coincidentally, on this week, another story came up, and this person is called Reesa Teesa. And she had a TikTok marriage, and she talks about who the F did I marry? And she talks about meeting this guy, and within a month, she moves him into her house. She moves him into her house, and then there's a series of lies that this person is telling, to the point that she got married January 5th, and by the 31st, she said she knew her marriage was over and she needed to get out of this marriage. And so I'm looking at that, And I'm thinking, what is going on that women are getting in relationships so quickly? And I understand that you will, because it's a natural human desire to want to be loved. It's a natural desire to want to be in a relationship with someone significant, to love someone. But are we moving too fast? And I know Reesa, she says, I know people are going to say something about this. Well, you're not in your teens anymore. Teenagers get giggly and googly eyed and be excited when someone wants within a month, oh, they want to go out and date. But you guys are in your 30s and 40s. You're in your 30s and 40s, and you should know better. And as she's saying this, Risa, she's saying, I'm putting this out there because in case someone else is going through this, going through what? You know that you shouldn't be doing this. You know that this is a red flag. Sometimes I wonder if we're moving too fast, if we're thinking that this person is going to get away. Is someone else going to get him before I get him? And so, I'm just a little, I don't want to get down on the women. But then I also was like, you know what? You guys know better than this. What is it that you're looking for that's causing you to rush like this? What are you looking for? What are you looking for in a relationship? Because if you're saying I'm looking for love and I'm looking for security, you're not going to find it in a month. You're not going to find this love and security that you're looking for in a month. Love takes time. There's that song that says love takes time. And they're true, and that truly is true. Love takes time. So I'm just going to look at what can we learn from this? What can we learn from what's happening with Portia getting in a relationship with somebody after a month and Rissa getting into a relationship after a month? And it may seem like what I talk about, it may seem like, oh, that's common sense, but obviously it's not common sense. And the first thing I want to say is don't think that you have to rush. Take your time. Take your time to get to know somebody that you don't even know. Rissa didn't even know this person from a box of rocks. And she said, yeah, he didn't have a place to stay, so I knew I shouldn't have moved him in. Why did you move him in? And that's the thing. Why? Think about it. And this is what I tell my clients. Sometimes when they don't know, I don't know if I should do this, make a decision. It's like, what would you tell your friend? If your friend came up to you and said, hey, I just met this person a month ago, not even a month ago, and he wants to move in. Do you think I should move him in? What would your response be to that person? Or Portia, I met this man. He was on, the reality show. I met his wife, and now they're divorcing. And I slid in his DMs and asked him how he was doing. What would your friend tell you? What would your friend tell you? Because you're going to be that friend telling it to yourself. See, we already know the answer to these questions, but sometimes I wonder if we are so desperate for love. Sometimes I wonder if we want it so badly that we just don't listen to common sense. So the first thing is to understand that love takes time. The second thing, check the person out. Don't just listen to what they say or look at face value. Oh, this person has all of this. No, check it out. That was the problem with Rissa. She said she didn't check it out. And later on, she started checking things. But when you started checking him and you realized that he was lying, again, why are you still there? Another thing that I want to say is I remember years ago when Oprah Winfrey was doing her show, and one thing she was talking about on the show is doing background checks on men and having an investigator, not just men, but doing a background check on whoever you're thinking about getting in a relationship with. And I totally agree with that. This day and age, you cannot just take it for face value. We have too many people that are scammers and liars. Both of these people, scammers. Just said about Simon Gobadia, falsification with the government. He had fraud, multiple felonies. He had a past riddled with scams and identity fraud. Same thing with Rissa. This guy, he's scamming, he's lying. When you find out somebody's a lie, Maya Angelou said to us, when people show you who they are, believe them. Why are we not believing this? And because Portia said this divorce is unrelated to the recent events, it's probably she saw some of these red flags early on. When you see the red flags, you have to do something about them because red flags don't turn green. They're not going to change on you. And all of a sudden, those red flags are going to be okay. There's too many scammers out there. And I know people might say, my parents, they met, they fell in love, they've been together 50 years. This is a different time. This is a whole different time. The men are different these days. The women are different these days. This is a different time. You can't compare your relationship to somebody else's and say, oh, we're going to have this happily ever after. And it sounds like a lot of times people want this happily ever after, but marriage is work and you have to invest in it. You have to invest time in it. And so for both of these people, I just don't see the time that they invested in these relationships. And then they're questioning why it didn't work. I'm serious. I don't understand why they're questioning it. You can't create a foundation that's rocky. It's not a solid foundation, and then you're thinking it's going to last. I have firsthand experience with that. That if someone lies to you, it doesn't get any better. If they start the situation off in a lie, it is not going to get any better. And I think what a lot of people don't do is to sit back and say, what were some of the mistakes I made? To sit back and process it. Maybe you need to get some advice. So then I would say, what is the next step? Both of these marriages didn't work out. What's the next step? I encourage getting into counseling. And the reason why I encourage getting into counseling is first to find out, why did I move so fast? Why did I move so fast? Why did I ignore the red flags? Because that's saying something about you. Maybe there's an area in you that you need to work on. Maybe you need to work on self-love first. And I know people think because people look the part, but they may not have self-confidence. They may not have confidence in themselves. So to go to a counselor and say, hey, I want to talk about what were some of my missteps and why did I do this? Because it may be something on the inside that the person is longing for and they don't realize it. There's a reason why people move too fast. Because even with Reesa's, and I'll put her back up, because even when Reesa was talking and she kept saying, there was this feeling on the inside. There was something on the inside, but she kept pushing past it. She kept didn't want to acknowledge it. And that's what you need to really focus on and really find out, why did I ignore that inner voice on the inside? Why did I ignore that? And even for Portia, she had been divorced before. She had been married before. I'm sure there were some red flags. Why did you push past those red flags? Let's talk about what's going on, because you don't want to make this mistake again. And I want to hear your comments. I want to hear, what do you think about it? We think a lot of women float on fairy tale romances. That fairy tale, this happily ever after, we saw each other across the room, our eyes met, and now this is happily ever after. And now we're gonna have a happily ever after. Or is there something else going on that I'm just missing? Let's talk about it. Put your comments below. And here's the video I was talking to you about that I did on Porsha and Simon Gobadia when they first met. And there's a lot of good insight in this video. So go ahead and look at it and let me know your thoughts.